So Lindiwe, thank you so much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Nick.
You're most welcome, and it's great to have you on the show. But before we start, can you please tell us a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town in Mpumalanga called Belfast. I was born there, raised there, did all my schooling. I was raised by my grandparents. My parents died when I was young. I was about 4 when my mom died. And then after finishing high school, I went and I studied at the University of Cape Town. I did BCom and I majored in economics and statistics.
And can you tell us, Lindiwe, what was your dream career when you grew up?
Oh my God, it changed so many times, I guess, like as many people, because, I didn't have role models growing up, for example. So we were just, meeting somebody. If you meet a teacher, I want to be a teacher. At some point, I wanted to be a nurse. At some point, I wanted to be an advocate. But by the time when I was doing my matric, I wanted to become an engineer, actually, because my brother went to university before me and was studying mechanical engineering, and I wanted to become a chemical engineer. And then, but, when I go to UCT, I realized that, I've always had the passion for business, and I ended up studying economics and statistics.
And can you tell us, Lindiwe, who inspired you in your early days?
My grandfather, I am who I am because of him. And I think because, growing up, my grandfather was not educated. And when I was doing grade 1, he actually went back to school, night school, and was doing grade 1 with me. So we used to read together outside because he was a pastor, so I would read the Bible with him. And that, I think, that's really where my passion for reading started. And as much as, and also, wanting to know more, because every time he would meet somebody who was successful, who owned a car, he would, find a way to bring that person to talk to us, to inspire us. So he was, and still now remain one of the most important people in my life, because I don't think I would be who I am without him. He really believed in me.
And Lindiwe, today you are leading the digital revolution in Africa. You're the founder and CEO of Africa Teen Geeks, which I believe is the largest computer science education nonprofit on the continent. And you're representing Africa across the world on many boards, many organizations, the World Economic Forum. If you look back over your career, would you say there was a turning point? Or maybe a number of turning points?
I think there've been a number of turning points, like there's been, I think, I create my life with so many people that I was able to meet at different points in my life. From UCT, my lecturer, Helena de Oliveira, who used to teach us accounting, to and also when I was doing my second year, Professor Roda at UCT, who was also one of those people who really, believed in me and inspired me. I remember, like, he used to notice even when I was late. He would notice when I was sitting in the middle of the class. Just, I knew if I didn't make it in class, when I come the following day, he will definitely say, "Oh, I'm very grateful you decided to join us today." And there were so many of us, but he always noticed me. Yeah. And that meant so much, right? And the opportunities that he was able to also open up and assist me with, from when I was at university to then, having an opportunity to, become part of the Tech Women program run by the US government, which really opened my mind to, global opportunities, to also, a chance encounter with, meeting somebody and ending up working with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which started opening, my mind to also traveling outside of the country, and specifically the UN, attending the UN, General Assembly in New York, or the UN high-level political forum, to going to Vienna. So there's been so many, I think, turning points that got me to start thinking, I could make an impact not just at home, but my voice, means something. My voice can make a difference in the world as well.
And what would you say is driving you today?
I think, there's so many, I think even after almost 30 years of democracy, there's still so much poverty. There's so much high unemployment. There's still, if you go to the townships, you could still meet somebody who's almost 40 or even 50, almost turning 50 today, and has never had a job in their lives. And those are unfortunately still the realities that are facing so many of our people and young people growing up in an environment where I grew up in, without any hope and opportunities. I always say, for me, growing up, I didn't have anything in the promise of my future but God, and obviously a grandfather who really believed and was so instrumental in helping me believe in myself, right? But there's so many young people who don't have that, somebody that can push them, that's somebody that believe in them, that's somebody that can, expose them to opportunities, but most importantly, get them to believe that they can become anything they want. So that's what drives me. That's what I want to be able to make sure that every child who has the ability gets the opportunity that they deserve. And I'm hoping that, is going to continue to be something that will, also inspire more people to actually do that, to make sure that we can go and support many young people. There's so much hopelessness. Like, you every time when I talk to young people, you can tell that they don't see life changing for them. And we need to get to that point where we sort of inspire young, but also to get people in leadership and in government who care about people, and to make sure that we could actually develop, or rather create, a South Africa that works for all, not for some of us, that works for all.
Thank you. And Lindiwe, looking into the future, what does the future of leadership mean to you?
For me, leadership is about serving. It's really about serving, and it's also rooted, because I am a person of strong faith. It's really rooted in scripture that says those who want to lead must also be willing to serve. And if you want to be listened to, you need to be willing to listen. It's really as simple as that. Leadership is not just about getting people to follow you. It's about also getting people to believe in themselves, and also to inspire them to also believe in, to have that self-leadership. It's not just about standing in front and just listening to your own voice. It's about listening and then being able to then assist in driving that vision that can work for everybody. So for me, leadership is about having a purpose, and most importantly, serving the people you've been called to lead.
And Lindiwe, what have you learned from your own leadership journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
Humility. It's really that. It's like, you need to know that you don't know everything, and you need to be willing to learn from everybody. If you listen, you will become an effective leader, because you will make sure that the decisions that you take are decisions that will also serve the people that you are leading. So, and I really think it's really about that, being humbled and being accessible. And most importantly, I think, as I'll mention it again, listening. And really not listening to respond, but really listening to learn.
Listen to learn. Thank you. Now, Lindiwe, these are challenging times as the world is stumbling from one crisis into the next. What is your advice for future leaders in terms of challenges? What are some of the big challenges they should expect to encounter in their career?
I mean, I think I would say it's not even just the challenges you inspire can encounter in a career. It's like challenges you encounter in life, right? So, I mean, you're gonna face a lot of difficult challenges that affect every aspect of your life, be in your career, be at home, be in, even things that are happening in the country that would be affecting you, the rise in interest rate. There's always challenges. There's always something that will require you to come up with solutions to solve a problem. So you need to become a problem solver. You need to allow yourself to be one of those people that don't just one of the people that don't just I would say this word is running away from me, but it's not about identifying problems, right? It's not just, you don't want to be the person that is good at identifying problems, but you don't actually come up with solutions to solve them. And that comes with also constantly learning, because some of the problems we are facing today are problems that the past generation, even 10 years ago, those problems were not there. So it's really about that you need to be a constant, like a lifelong learner, continue to be open, open your mind, listen to people who may not agree with you, because that's actually when you learn. Continue to challenge yourself, and make sure that you become a person that is more solution oriented, because that's what the world needs today. I always say, like, for Africa, we've become so good at identifying problems. We know all the problems that needs to be solved, but we are not as good in solving them, right? So if you read a book about Africa that was written 40 years ago, if you were to read it again today, it's like it was written last week, because it's still the same problem. So the same problems. And I think it's really important that we raise a generation of young people that realize that these problems can be solved, and they can be solved by us.
Now, Lindiwe, you are teaching, you are mentoring, and you're empowering so many future leaders. If you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are some of the new skills that you would want to factor in?
I think the first thing would be, I would make sure that they read the book by Adam Grant, Think Again. It's such a very important book, because it's really about allowing yourself to be challenged, and knowing that what you know today may not be relevant tomorrow. And also be willing to change your mind. I think there's so many times when I listen to people talking about politicians, they say, oh, the person is a flip-flopper. And I'm like, you know what? We need more flip-floppers, because what you knew yesterday may not be relevant today. And you need to be able to adjust. You need to be able to adjust your thinking, be willing to say, or humbled enough to say, I was wrong. So now, because I know better, right? Maya Angelou, I think she's the one who said that when you know better, you do better. So which means changing your mind is not a bad thing. Especially when you encounter new facts and new information when you didn't have the last time when you made the decisions that you did, or when you took the position that you took. So I think one thing I would always tell young people, there's nothing wrong with admitting when you're wrong, and there's nothing wrong with changing your mind, or rather being influenced to change your mind when you realize that the decisions you took or the position you took was based on wrong information. So my curriculum would be really that, to say, you know what, if you studied chemistry or science a few years ago, we had Pluto as a planet. And then more information came. Now Pluto is no longer a planet, right? It was demoted. So you can't say that person who said Pluto was a planet, now today they change their mind, they say it's not, to say, oh, you guys, you were wrong. Really, it's about, you need to think like a scientist. If you think like a scientist, it's really around knowing that the facts you have today can change when you get more data, when you get more information, and the more you explore. We need to have more explorers, more people who think like scientists, who understand that you have to be constantly learning. You need to be constantly looking for new facts and making sure that you evolve as well. Your thinking has to evolve. If you don't evolve, you're never going to grow. Growth is about changing your mind. The things I believed in 10 years ago, I don't anymore, because I've become wiser, older. I'm reading as much as I can. I read a lot because I know I don't know a lot. So that's why I have to read a lot so that I can learn. And what I'm telling you now, probably if you ask me the same questions, maybe 5 years from now, my answer could change because I would have learned more.
Now, Lindiwe, as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
Oh my God, there's a couple. I mean, we have young people who started with our programs, from a career perspective. Some of them, when they started wanting to be lawyers, now, are doing something else, that's studying computer science. There's been so many young people that even now, when I see some of them, who were at the beginning of their careers, and I'm just watching them evolved and developing, and they are teaching me so much as well. And from the young people that, even within my organization, I'm surrounded by young people. Our managing director is 31 years old. And has been with the organization since he was 24. So it's really nice to see that, and to see these young people developing and growing, and I'm learning so much from him. There's even some decisions I don't take because I can tell he's even got a much better temperament than I do. He's got so it's really been just great to be surrounded by. And I think what I also love about being around young people is hope, right? Because they see the future. Sometimes as you grow older, we learn to be skeptical because we know that things don't always work. But young people, they don't think like that. They have that hope to say, I'm gonna try it. And that's really what inspired me to say, yeah, go for it. You know what? It's not my place to say that may not work, because maybe it didn't work for me, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work for you. I always use the example of, if you are somebody, if you are a Christian, for example, that, David wanted to build the temple, but it wasn't his place. It was Solomon's role to build the temple. Sometimes you can have those big dreams and big visions that we have, and knowing that my job is to set the foundation, because the person who's going to achieve that probably is not even born today. And that's what we always have to think as the older generation. Our responsibility to understand that we may not solve the problem, but we need to set the foundation to make it easier for the next generation to solve the problems.
And Lindiwe, looking back over your leadership journey, are there any role models of leadership that you encountered and maybe worked with that you would recommend future leaders should learn from?
My mentor has been Dr. Marian Krook. He's the current vice president of engineering at Google and the woman who developed voice over IP. And very humbled, and that humility that you see from somebody who's achieved so much and yet still accessible, still available. And I think another person that I admire, here at home, actually I would say two of them. I would say Dr. Badilu Hutla. He's also somebody who's really, really, available and accessible to young people, and very, willing to take his time and help. And also, Dr. Precious Mutipe, that's also one person who's been, supportive of me, but also what I'm learning from her is when you basically, when you've climbed that ladder, the importance of sending down the ladder for the next generation to be able to climb. So that is really, I think I would say those are the people that I admire, because, they didn't just make it and say, I made it and I'm here, but they make it their responsibility to send down the ladder for the next generation to be able to climb, and also not to, struggle as much as they did. And I think that's really what leadership is about. It's about making sure that, I always say, like, as a parent, right, you want to make sure that your children don't go through what you went through. You want to make things easier for them. And I think that's really is leadership. It's about how do I make sure that the next generation, or the people that I'm leading, they don't have to take 40 years to get to where I am if it could take them 10 years. So what is it that I can do to help them to accelerate their development?
Thank you. Now, Lindiwe, please tell us, where can our listeners follow you and how should they connect with you?
I am on all social media platforms. I'm not posting as much as I used to as I get older. I try to reduce the noise as much as I can, but I am on Twitter, I am on Facebook, I'm also on Instagram, and yeah, I just joined Threads. I haven't put anything on Threads yet, but I'm there.
Okay. And last but not least, Lindiwe, if I may ask, in terms of your leadership legacy, what is it you would like to be remembered for?
Oh my God, I find that question to be very difficult to answer, because I think it would be presumptuous of me, or even arrogant, to tell people how they should see me, how they should view me. But I do hope that, people would see me as somebody who tried. I'm flawed, not perfect, but my heart has always been in the right place. And that's really what I would like to be remembered for somebody who really made the effort, who tried.
Well, Lindiwe, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership, and for inspiring so many future leaders.
Thank you for having me, Doctor. I appreciate the opportunity.